Okay. Hare Krishna. So, departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarika, and till now we have completed 18 shlokas. So today we are going to start with 19th shloka, first canto, 10th chapter, shloka number 19. Ashruyantasya cha satyas tatra tatra dvijerita nanu rupanu rupascha nirgunasya gunatmanah. Can anybody read the translation and purport, please?
Prabhuji, there is nothing on the screen.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay, I'll read that. I'll read it out.
No, I'll read, Prabhu. I'll read. It was
Okay.
being heard here and there that the benedictions being paid to Krishna were neither befitting nor unbefitting because they were all for the Absolute, who was now playing the part of the human being. At places, there were sounds of Vedic benediction aiming at the personality of the Godhead, Shri Krishna. The benedictions were fitting in the same sense, and that the Lord was playing the part of a human being as if a cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthir, but they were also unfitting because the Lord is absolute and has nothing to do with any kind of material relative things. He is nirgun, or there are no material qualities in him, but he is full of transcendental qualities. In the transcendental world, there is nothing contradictory, whereas in the relative world, everything has its opposite. In the relative world, while in the opposite conception of black, but in the transcendental world, there is no distinction between white and black. Therefore, the sounds of benedictions uttered by the learned Brahmans here and there appear to be contradictory in relation to the absolute person, but when they are applied to the absolute person, they lose all contradiction and become transcendental. One example may clear this idea. Lord Shri Krishna is sometimes described as a thief. He is very famous amongst his pure devotees as the Makhan Chor. He used to steal butter from the houses of the neighbors at Vrindavan in his early age. Since then, he is famous as a thief. But in spite of his being famous as a thief, he is worshipped as a thief, whereas in the mundane world, a thief is punished and is never praised. Since he is the absolute personality of the Godhead, everything is applicable to him, and still, in spite of all contradictions, he is the supreme personality of the Godhead.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Now, in this shloka, the most important points, of course, the full shlokas and the purpose, they are very important. But some of the points which are to be taken care of or to be noted are now here it's mentioned that Lord Shri Krishna was appearing as a human being and he was playing a part. Now, in that, that means he was playing a part of a human being as if he is a cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthira. So that when suppose somebody is glorifying, and here as it's mentioned that for Krishna it is the Brahmins, they or at all the places there was sound of Vedic benedictions, there were so many different prayers being held. So the benedictions were fitting in a sense that the Lord was playing the part of a human being as if a cousin or of Maharaj Yudhishthira, but they were also unfitting because the Lord is absolute and has nothing to do with any kind of material relativities. That's true. Like for Lord Krishna, there is nothing which is fitting or unfitting. He is absolute. So that is what is mentioned here. And the example which is here given that he is nirguna. Usually the people they say that he is formless. Nirgun means without any form. But that is the Mayavada philosophy. What we are talking here is about he is nirguna, and it's clearly mentioned in Srila Prabhupada's purport that he is nirguna because he doesn't have any guna which is material qualities. Of course, he is fully transcendental and he has full transcendental qualities. That's the difference between our philosophy and what the Mayavadi's philosophy is. Now the Srila Prabhupada gives an example, that of Lord Krishna's name is Makhan Chor. Now it's very apt, in the present world, when we see that, is any thief who is in the material world, praised, or, he's been offered prayers for? No, it is not. Why? Because the Lord is on the transcendental platform, and even he was a Makhanchor. In spite of that, we are still praying, and we enjoy the devotees. They enjoy by calling him Makhancho, and this is the relationship between the devotees and the Lord. There is another example which I was listening to one of the lectures, in which they say about Madhusudana. Now there is a shloka in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, where it's mentioned the Lord has been addressed as Madhusudana. Now Madhusudana, he's been addressed by Arjuna. The exact meaning, what is referred in that particular shloka, is that you are Madhusudana. Sudan means the one who is a killer, and the Arjuna is addressing him as Madhusudana. Madhu is the demon. There were two demons, namely Madhu and Ketaba. Now these Madhu and Ketaba, they were the demons who, what did they do? What was why they were killed by Krishna? So these two demons. Now, to just understand about Madhusudana, we have to understand, like, the Brahmaji. Now, Brahmaji is born from the navel of Lord Vishnu. Now, when Lord Vishnu, how did Brahma was born? Like, he from the navel of Lord Vishnu on the lotus flower. Now, people might think, when you talk about this, and when the people, they do not understand the philosophy, they will come out with a question: what kind of thing is that? How can a human being, or how can a male member, Lord Vishnu is male, so how can a male give a birth, and that birth is also from the navel, and that too is on the lotus? How is that possible? So to understand that, we have to understand all the things in the world, all the things. For example, if you just take a mobile phone, how did the mobile phone come into existence? So before that, we had phones. Of course, we had wire phones, which were connected, landlines, what we call now. So what is it about? Now, landline phones were there. Now, how did landline phones come to existence? That is also another question. So if we go deep down into each and every product which is available in the market, which is available in the material world, you'll understand that it was a desire of somebody, of a human being, to get the benefits, or to get something resolved, or to get something, for his for his convenience. So because of that desire, he went into finding out something which is called a phone, and then he wire phone, and thereafter, after finding the difficulties in wire phone, he came out, oh my god, every now and then I have to carry this phone. I have to be at the place where the phone is, the wire phone is set up. So I have to come out with something which is wireless. So the next desire came that I should be having some kind of instrument which I can carry around. And then the invention, or new product which came into the market was the mobile phones. And then now we are finding so many new developments coming up in the mobile phones with Wi-Fi and all that. So this is basically coming up. How it's coming up with the desire. So now, similarly, Lord Brahma is born because of the desire of Lord Vishnu. Now, Lord Vishnu, who is incarnation of Lord Krishna. Now, when the desire comes, what is the difference now between the desires of the spiritual world and the material world? In the material world, you will find out, in the material world, what is the desire. For that desire, what he has to do, he has to slog, he has to find out, he has to work on it, and he has to find out so many, he has to do so many experiments, he has to go into R&D, research and development, and then he comes out with a product, with then testing, and then upgrading it, and all these kind of things. But similarly, when you see in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as working on it. The moment Lord desires, the thing is done. That's the reason Lord's another name is called Aptakama. The moment he thinks, he doesn't have to think, he doesn't have to work for it. The moment he thinks about something, it is into existence. So why this is possible? So how we can say that, it's not possible? Here you're working because you are in the material world, you are thinking, you have a desire, and you are following it up. And later on, but in the material world, in the spiritual world, how it is? The Lord thinks, and it comes into existence. Now we were thinking about how this. Now, when Brahmaji was born, he was thinking about Brahmaji, and he got the knowledge. Now, where did he get the knowledge from? So, if you understand from the material point of view, that now in the today's world, we download some information from particular site. In the similar way, the Lord, allowed Brahmaji to download the information which were Vedas, and all these Vedas, they were downloaded by Brahmaji with the grace of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. This information was known by Madhu, demon Madhu and Kaitaba. These two guys, Madhu and Kaitaba, they decided, okay, now we want this information. And what did they do? They went and they downloaded the full information from Brahmaji's mind and removed all the information which was there in the Vedas, and they took it away. Now, to help this, to get this information back, to get the Vedas back, these are all in the mind. They were taken away by Madhu and Kedava. So the question arises, how is this possible? How can you download something which is there in your mind and by somebody else? So if you know, there are so many type of siddhis, in which siddhis the person can read the mind of another person, but just by being in touch. And a crude example would be, for example, if we have been like, if suppose somebody is married for a longer period, say around 20 years or 30 years, and he is very close to his wife, his spouse, what happens? The spouse understands what's the need, and she can read the mind of the husband, and wife can read the mind of the husband, and husband can read the mind of the wife. So similarly, when this is possible in the material world, we are talking about the spiritual world. In that, Madhu and Ketaba, they downloaded the information and they took away the information from Brahmaji's mind. Now then, Lord took a birth, Lord took an avatar, Lord took an avatar of Haigriva, and which is the form of horse and human being, and he went and he killed Madhu, the Madhu. And that's the reason it's called Madhu Sudana. The Lord is called, Lord's one name is called Madhu Sudana. Now, why this is relevant for Arjuna, addressing him as Madhusudana? Because now Madhusudana, when Arjuna is saying, the other meaning of is that you killed the demon Madhu. So similarly, you can kill the doubts which are there in my mind, O Madhusudana. Arjuna is addressing to Lord Sri Krishna. The another aspect which the acharyas give for the name Madhusudana is, what is Madhu? Madhu in Sanskrit is also means sweetness. In English means sweetness. Now, sweetness, now what is the most sweetest thing to a human being? The most sweetest thing to a human being is the praise. When suppose somebody speaks to you, he praises you, what happens? There, you get puffed up and you have pride. So here, the second meaning of Madhusudana is, whenever there is a pride, Lord comes to kill that pride, because he doesn't want his devotees to have any pride in them. And we can see the example of Indradev, when his pride was crushed by Lord Krishna in the Govardhan Leela. Hare Krishna. Now we can go to the second shloka, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. First,
Prabhu, one question.
Yes, Prabhu.
In the last, that is 1.10.18, there was the Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord in decorated fans, and the Lord as a master of Madhu. So is the same thing?
Yes, exactly. He is master of everybody. He is master of everybody. So even the Madhusudana, when you talk about Madhusudana, there are several meanings. Okay, just to cut down, I gave two meanings. There's another meaning for Madhusudana also. That was explained in one of the lectures. It says that, there is bitterness in all of us. In the material world, everybody has some grudges, some differences with the other people, and that is what you call bitterness. Now, to kill that bitterness, when you chant the name of Lord, who is Madhusudana, he also kills that bitterness which is in you. So this is another example. So Lord is the master of all, even the demons. They are under his influence. They are under control by him. So this is what it is. So can we go to the next shloka?
Yes, yes.
Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, and shloka number 20. Anyayam asita sanjalpa uttama shloka chetasam Kauravendra Purastrinam Sarvashruti Manohara. Okay, I'll read the translations and translation and the purport. It's a wonderful purport. Okay.
We'll read.
Yes, Prabhu.
We will read it, Prabhu, no problem.
Okay, then you read it, please.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapura began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of Vedas. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in all the Vedic literatures, the goal is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Factually, the glories of the Lord are depicted in such literature as the Vedas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. And in the Bhagavatam, they are specifically mentioned in respect to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, while the ladies on the tops of the houses in the capital of the kings of the Kuru dynasty were talking about the Lord, their talk was more pleasing than the Vedic hymns. Anything sung in the praise of the Lord is Shruti Mantra. There are songs of Thakura Narottama Dasa, one of the Acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, composed in simple Bengali language. But Thakura Vishwanatha Chakravarti, another very learned Acharya of the same Sampradaya, has approved the songs by Thakura Narottama Dasa to be as good as Vedic mantras. And this is so because of the subject matter. The language is immaterial, but the subject matter is important. The ladies who were all absorbed in the thought and actions of the Lord developed the consciousness of Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord. And therefore, although such ladies might not have been very learned scholars in Sanskrit or otherwise, still whatever they spoke was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. The Vedic hymns in the Upanishads are sometimes indirectly directed to the Supreme Lord, but the talks of the ladies were directly spoken of the Lord, and thus they were more pleasing to the heart. The ladies' talks appeared to be more valuable than the learned Brahmanas' benedictions.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for reading this purport. Now, the most important point which I can understand from this purport, here is mentioned, the language is immaterial, but the subject matter is important. What is the subject matter here? The subject matter is about Krishna. So all the ladies, all the females, they were talking about Sri Krishna and they were reciting some prayers. So what basically is that? So the discussions what they were having, the ladies what they were talking about is the leelas of Lord Sri Krishna, and they were talking with the bhav. The bhav was more important. So Srila Prabhupada, in one of his lectures on Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada mentions that there was a Brahmana in the south of southern part of India, and the place name is Pratisthanapura. Now, there was a Brahmana, he was very poor, but very sincere devotee of Lord Krishna and was satisfied with whatever the Lord had given him. He used to hear the glories of the Lord from different, so many realized souls. At one such meeting, while he was very faithfully hearing about Vaishnava activities, he was informed that these activities can be performed even by meditation, like Manas Puja, that's what they call it. So daily he used to take bath in the river Godavari and started meditating on the Lord. When he had fixed the form of Lord in his mind, he began to imagine in the meditation that he was dressing the Lord in the imagination. He was addressing the Lord with very costly, even though he was very poor, But in the imagination, he was thinking that he was dressing the Lord with very costly clothing, ornaments, and different kind of mukuts and paraphernalias. Then he offered his respectful obeisances, and he used to, in the meditation, he used to, through his manasmriti or manastuti, he used to bow down before the Lord, and after finishing the dressing of the Lord, then he used to clean the temple. He used to imagine that different water kalashis are there with waters from different rivers like Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri, and that this is how he used to pray through his mana, through his manaskriti. Now he imagined physically collect all the required paraphernalias. Then he used to think, okay, all the paraphernalias are there, the flowers are there, the chamar is there, the more punk is there, and all these things he used to, and then he used to do this arti through his mana. He was doing this for years. And one day he decided to, it came to his mind that why not I offer sweet rice to the Lord. He was preparing in his imagination, but was not satisfied as it was very hot. He wanted to make sure that, it's in the right temperature so that he can offer to the Lord, and it is not very hot. In his meditation, he thought, okay, let me just check whether the kheer has cooled down so that I can offer to the Lord. So he inserted his finger in the, like in his manasmriti, in his manas puja, he inserted his finger into the hot kheer, which was in the imagination. He suddenly, his meditation broke up, and he found that his finger had got burned. So this is basically when you are in the bhav, and this is basically the understanding. Although the Lord was present in Vaikuntha, he was present also in the heart of the Brahmana when he was meditating on worshipping processes. Thus, we can understand that things offered by the devotee, even in meditation, are accepted by the Lord, and they help one achieve the desired results. The Lord is so merciful that even if one is not able to afford to get the prescribed paraphernalias, the Lord accepts the offerings that are made mentally. Each and every form of devotional service in the form of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam is equally potent and would take up us close to the Lord. So this is basically what it is. And so here there's a word in this shloka. There is a word called Uttama shloka. Now, what does Uttama shloka means? Uttama shloka means the best of shlokas, or best of hymns, or best of prayers. We can find several stutis in Bhagavatam. Bhishma stuti is there, Kunti stuti is there, Akrura's prayers are there. So these stutis are, what are these stutis? These are basically the Uttama shlokas. Now here it is mentioned, there is a shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto 1st chapter and 4th shloka. There it is very nicely explained by one of the gurus, that the shloka is as Nivratta Trishray Upagiya Manat Bhava Aushada Shrod Manobhiramat Ka Uttama Shlok Punanuvadat Uman Virajayet Bina Pashugnat. So basically this was addressed, this shloka was taken by Sarvabhaum Prabhu, one of the very senior and very good devotees, and he explained that what does that shloka means. So since Uttama Shloka word came here, so it reminded me of that particular class which I had heard about Sarvabhaum Prabhu. The shloka, he gave the title to this shloka as Amar Hone Ki Dawai, which means the medicine which will make you immortal. The Amar Hone Ki Dawai. So what now that we have to understand, and he explained in such a beautiful manner. It is almost 1.5 hours lecture, but I just made some bullet points, and we can talk about this Uttama Shloka. What does it mean? Now, what is the medicine? What is the medicine in the material world? If this person is sick, he needs to have medicine and get himself cured. Similarly, in the material world, in the spiritual world, we are sick. Why we are sick? Because we are in the material world. This material world is Dukhalayama Shashvatam. We are always under anxiety, under problems, under health issues. So many things are there. So why we are here? If we are in the spiritual, we will not have these kind of things. So now the thing is, what is that medicine? it's mentioned here, to get the disease of birth, old age, death, and these things you have to get rid of. So for that, to get rid of all these things, birth, old age, death, and disease, to get rid of all these things, you have to have the medicine. Now, what is that medicine? So here it's mentioned, the medicine is Uttama Shloka, Gunanuvada. Uttama Shloka मतलब उत्तम श्लोकों से भगवान के गुण गाए जाते हैं, and you have to, that is the medicine. Yani uttama shloka, you praise the Lord with different kind of uttama shlokas, and those shlokas are the medicine. Now, ये किसकी दवाई है? What is this medicine for? So this medicine is for getting rid of जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि के बंधनों से मुक्त होने की दवाई है. तो ये दवाई कैसे लेनी चाहिए? So it is how to take this medicine. तो मतलब ये आपको कैसे, मतलब क्या दवाई, कैसे खाने की दवाई है, या ये आपको इंजेक्शन के माध्यम से अपने बॉडी में डालनी है? तो बोलते हैं, तो बताते हैं कि ये श्रोत, उत्तम श्लोक, what is meant? भव औषधि श्रोत मनोविरामा. That means you have to listen. तो ये दवाई कहाँ से लेनी है हमको, और कैसे लेनी है इसको? तो you have to take this medicine from the ears. श्रोत means अगर भगवान को देखना है तो you have to see. You cannot see the Lord with your eyes. You have to see the Lord with the ears. देखा जाता है, यानी सुनने वाला जन्म मृत्यु के बंधन से छूट जाता है. When you take the medicine from the ears, then that cleansing process start. तो प्रश्न उठता है, दवाई है. Now you know that what is dawai. Dawai is the shlok, uttama shlok. That means katha, namely hearing the Lord's pastimes. कैसे लेनी है? कानों से लेनी है. We have to take the medicine from the ears. फायदा क्या होता है? तो जन्म मृत्यु से हम मुक्त हो जाते हैं. और कैसी दवाई है? Is it what is the taste of this medicine? Usually the medicines are bitter. They are pungent, with pungent smell and how all these things. But this, what is this? कैसी दवाई है? तो this says ये मनोभिरामात. It will उत्तम श्लोक मनोभिरामात. It will make your mind, it will make your heart so full of bliss. तो दवाई किस डॉक्टर से लेनी है? ना तो मैं पॉइंट कम्स इन, ये दवाई लेनी किससे है? तो अगर ये दवाई है, जो मतलब whatever is the medicine, तो ये आपको दवाई लेनी कैसी है? तो दवाई किस डॉक्टर से लेनी है? तो फर्स्ट part of the shloka, what does it mean? It mentions कि Nivratta Trishray Upagiyamadan. You have to take the medicine from the doctor who is Nivratta Trishray. He doesn't have any desires. So you have to approach a guru, a bona fide guru, who will give you this medicine and who will tell you. That means pure devotees, they will talk about Lord Krishna every now and then. So what happens? Katha sunne se, and that too from whom you have to take it from. You have to hear it from the person who is without any desires, nivratta trishay, who has become desireless. Katha sunne wala nivratta trishay ho, usko sansar mein koi lobh na ho. The person should not have any desires. He should not have any cravings for anything in the material world. That person, when he speaks about those shlokas, when he explains those shlokas in such a nice manner, what happens? We get that information, and we try to be on his path the way he's explaining, and we get ready to work on the path of going back home, back to God. So this was the which shloka, which lecture I had heard about from Sarvabhaum Prabhu, Amar Hone Ki Dawai. It's a very big lecture, but I just cut down in few sentences. And so he mentions about Uttama Shloka. What are the Uttama Shloka? That means these are the stutis which are mentioned in Bhagavatam, because we are not in a position to draft any kind of stutis ourselves. Howsoever a person must be knowledgeable, but he will not be able to draft the stutis which the previous pure devotees have drafted, and they have glorified the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have to take those stutis as it is, and with bhav we have to pray to the Lord and get ourselves hearing from the senior devotees, hearing from the pure devotees, and then this will cleanse our heart, and we will be on the path of going back home, back to Godhead. So we'll go now to shloka number Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, shloka number 21. सवैकिल्यं पुरुष पुरातनो य एक आसीत् अविशेष आत्मनि अग्रे गुणेभ्यो जगत् आत्मनि निश्वरे निमिलितात्मनन् निशि सुप्त शक्तिषु. Translations and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Please read it.
Hare Krishna,
Translation.
Prabhu. Sorry.
Okay, you want to continue? You can continue.
Yes, Sumati Mata, you can read.
Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. They said, here he is, the original personality of Godhead as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. Purport. There are two types of dissolution of the manifested cosmos. At the end of every so many years, solar years, Prabhuji, can you tell the number?
4,320,000,000.
Okay, 4 billion
4,320,000,000.
solar years. When Brahma, the Lord of one particular universe, goes to sleep, there is one annihilation. And at the end of Lord Brahma's life, which takes place at the end of Brahma's 100 years of age, in our calculation at the end of, again,
It's 8,640,000,000.
8,640,000,000 into 30 into 12 into 100 solar years. There is complete annihilation of the entire universe. And in both the periods, both material energy called the Mahat Tattva and the marginal energy called Jiva Tattva merge in the person of the Supreme Lord. The living beings remain asleep within the body of the Lord until there is another creation of the material world. And that is the way of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material manifestation. The material creation is affected by the interaction of the three modes of material nature set in action by the Lord. And therefore, it is said that here that the Lord existed before the modes of material nature were set in motion. In the Shruti mantra, it is said that only Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, existed before the creation and there was no Brahma, Shiv or other demigods. Vishnu means the Mahavishnu, who is lying on the causal ocean. By his breathing only till the universes by his breathing only, all the universes are generated in seeds and gradually develop into gigantic forms with innumerable planets within each and every universe. The seeds of universes develop into gigantic forms in the way seeds of the banyan tree develop into numberless banyan trees. This Mahavishnu is the plenary portion of the Lord Krishna, who is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita 5.48 as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whose plenary portion is the Mahavishnu. All the Brahmas, the heads of the universes, live only for the period of his exhaling after the universes are generated from the pores of his transcendental body. Thus, Govinda or Lord Krishna is the cause of Mahavishnu also. The ladies talking about the Vedic truth must have heard it from authoritative sources. An authoritative source is the only means of knowledge about transcendental subjects matter definitely. There is no alternative. The merging of the living beings into body of Mahavishnu takes place automatically at the end of Brahma's 100 years. But that does not mean that the individual living being loses his identity. The identity here is there, and as soon as there is another creation by the supreme will of the Lord, all the sleeping, inactive living beings are again let loose to begin their activities in the continuation of past different spheres of life. It is called Suptothita Nyaya, or awakening from sleep and again engaging in one's respective continuous duty. When a man is asleep at night, he forgets himself, what he is, what his duty is, and everything of the waking state. But as soon as he awakens from slumber, He remembers all that he has to do and thus engages himself again in his prescribed activities. The living beings also remain merged in the body of Mahavishnu during the period of annihilation, but as soon as there is another creation, they arise to take up their unfinished work. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.18 and 19. The Lord existed before the creative energy was set in action. The Lord is not product of the material energy. His body is completely spiritual and there is no difference between his body and himself. Before creation, the Lord remained in his abode, which is absolute and one. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. The first and foremost thing, thank you to Subaldas Prabhu, because I was thinking of skipping, all the purports and just talking on after reading the translations and then going ahead with the class. But honestly, when you read yourself and when you hear from somebody reading the purports, it definitely makes such a big difference. So.
Sure, thank you,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so much, thank you so much, Subaldas, and thank you, Sumati Mataji. The most important point here, what we can understand from that entire purport here is mention about Mahavishnu and how the Lord is, how the Brahma comes into existence, what kind of, how many years the Brahma is living, and what are his duration. And this, as I discussed or as I mentioned earlier, Lord is Aptakama, and how Brahma is born. Brahma is born just because of the Lord's desire that he wants to create another universe. He wants to create different universes. So Lord is merciful, and just because of his thought, because of his thought, because of his desire, because he's Aptakama, the creation happens. So this is what is mentioned in that particular shloka. Now we go to shloka number 22. Saeva bhujyo nijavrityak joditam swajiva mayam prakritim satyam anama rupatmani rupanamani vidhit samano anushar Sarasastrakrit. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
The
Hare
personality of
Krishna.
Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, placed them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. There are two varieties, namely Nityamukta and Nityabadh. The Nityamukta are eternally liberated souls, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode, beyond the manifested mundane creations. But the Nityabad or eternally conditioned souls are entrusted to his material external energy, Maya, for rectification of their rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father. Nityabad are eternally forgetful of their relation with the Lord as parts and parcels. They are bewildered by the illusionary energy as products of matter, and thus they are very busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. They go on merrily with plans, but by the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and the plans are annihilated
Annihilated.
at the end of the certain period, as above mentioned. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.7 as follows: O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all the living entities merge into my nature, and again, when the time of creation is ripe, I begin creation by the agency of my external energy. The word few
Bhuya.
indicates again and again. That is to say, the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is going on perpetually by the external energy of the Lord. He is the cause of everything, but the living beings who are constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord and are forgetful of the sweet relation are given a chance again and again to get rid of the clutches of the external energy and to revive his, that is, the living being's consciousness. The revealed scriptures are also created by the Lord. Vedic literatures are the guiding directions for the conditioned souls, so they can get free from the repetition of creation and annihilation by the of the material world and the material body. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, this created world and material energy are under my control, under the influence of Prakriti. Automatically, they are created again and again, and this is done by me through the agency of my external agent energy. Actually, the spiritual spark, living entities have no material names or forms. But in order to fulfill their desire to lord it over the material energy or material forms and names, they are given a chance to for such false enjoyment. And at the same time, they are given a chance to understand the real position through the revealed scriptures. The foolish and forgetful living beings is always busy with false forms and false names. Modern nationalism is the culmination of such false names and false forms. Men are mad after false name and form. The form of body obtained under certain conditions is taken up as factual, and the name also taken bewilders the conditioned soul into misusing the energy in the name of so many isms. The scriptures, however, supply the clue for understanding the real position, but men are reluctant to take lessons from the scriptures created by the Lord for different places and time. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is the guiding principle for all human beings, but by the spell of material energy, they do not take care to carry out the programs of life. In terms of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam is the in terms of Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, people have no taste for them, and therefore they are under the
Clutches.
therefore they are under the clutches of Maya for repetition of birth and death.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. See, this purport is very apt for all of us because, and especially for me, because here what is mentioned, what exactly here is mentioned is this present situation of all the living beings in the material world. We are always thinking of lording over the nature. This is the statement which Prabhupada always mentions. You know, the Jeev in the material world, they are always trying to lord over the nature. Now, what is nature? Nature is Bhagavan Sri Krishna and his energies. So if we are trying to lord it over, like we try to exploit those things and we try to work on that and say that I am the boss. I am the boss of this apartment. I am the boss of this office. I am the boss of this country. I am the boss of this world. So when they try to do that, I'm on the top of, I am the superpower. This kind of things, is an, and Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that, when these kind of things they are there in the person's thinking, they can never progress, and they will be always in what you call tied up in this material worlds of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So they will not. So to get rid out of that, the Lord Himself has given, and what the Lord has given is the scriptures. So here it's mentioned to revive the relationship between us and the Lord. What is our Jeev's Swarup? What is the nature of the Jiva? Jiva Swarup is Jiver Swarup Nitya Krishna Das. So he has to be Das. He has to be Das of the Lord. Krishna Das. He has to be the servant of Krishna, but he is trying to make others people, and he's trying to make others people be his servant, and he wants to lord it over. So if you from this context, what you understand is Lord is the power, Lord is the boss. You cannot be boss, you can only become a Das. So if you are Das, then only you'll be able to reach to the Lord. And to do that, Lord has provided us the scriptures. So here the very profound statement is mentioned: the foolish and the forgetful living being is always busy with false forms and fake names. He's always trying to get degrees, and he's always trying to get some positions. But The actual thing is the scriptures, however, which have been supplied by the Lord, they are there to give you an idea of what exactly you are, what is the purpose of your birth, why you are in this precarious condition. So the scriptures, they explain it, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study. While reading this purport, I remembered about this. I was just referring to Kaviraj Goswami's, Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which is mentioned how Lord is very merciful. How the Lord is very merciful. There's mentioned that Maya Mugdha Jiver Nahi Swata Krishna Gnan. Jiver Kripa Kaile Krishna Veda Puran, which means that the forgetful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord. Now, what is our relationship with the Lord? He is boss and we are das. The forgetful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord, and they are engrossed in thinking of material activities just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky. Krishna has given great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Vedas into 4. Then he explained them into Puranas. And for less capable people, he wrote Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is given the Bhagavad Gita. Then all the Vedic literatures is summarized into Vedanta Sutra. And for future guidance, he gave us natural commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. We must always engage our mind in reading these Vedic literatures, just as materialistic engage their mind in reading newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures. We must transfer our reading to these literatures, which are given to us by Vyasadeva. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord, and he guarantees the results. There is no doubt. This is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 8.7. Okay, now we go to shloka number 23. Savayam yat padam atra surayo jitendriya nirjita matarish vanaha pashyanti bhakti utkalita malatmana na navi esha sattvam parimarstum arhati. The translations and purpose, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness. By dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. And that is the only way to purify existence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in his real nature by dint of pure devotional service only. So it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service can experience the Lord as he is. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. The senses are active parts of the body and their activities cannot be stopped. The artificial means of the yogic process to make the senses inactive has proved to be abject failure, even in the case of great yogis. Like Vishwamitra Muni controlled the senses by yogic trance. But when he happened to meet Menaka, a heavenly society woman, he became a victim of sex and the artificial way of controlling the senses failed. But in the case of a pure devotee, the senses are not at all artificially stopped from doing anything, but they are given different good engagements. When the senses are engaged in more attractive activities, there is no chance of their being attracted by any inferior engagements. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the senses can be controlled only by better engagements. Devotional service necessitates purifying the senses or engaging them in the activities of devotional service. Devotional service is not not inaction. Anything done in service of Lord become at once purified of its material nature. The material conception is due to ignorance only. There is nothing beyond Vasudev. The Vasudev conception gradually develops in the heart of the learned after a prolonged acceleration of the receptive organs. But the process ends in the knowledge of accepting Vasudev as all in all. In the case of devotional service, this very same method is accepted from the very beginning, and by the grace of the Lord, all factual knowledge becomes revealed in the heart of a devotee. Due to dictation by the Lord from within. Therefore, controlling the senses by devotional service is the only and easiest means. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. While I was reading this purport, there is a word which is mentioned here, Jitendriya. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. Now, it reminded me of one of the lectures on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, 7th shloka. That shloka tells us that you can live in any part of the world. You can live in any part of the world when you learn these three things. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you can continue. It was by mistake.
Sorry. In Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, 7th shloka, there are three things which are mentioned, that how you can live in any situation, in any part of the world. So this, the three things, what are these three things? If you learn these three things, you can become that way. So there are these three things are called Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendriya. So here Atma, because Vishuddhatma, so Atma and Vijitatma and Jitendriya. So Vishuddhatma, here the Atma is referred as intelligence. In many of the instances, you will find that Atma can be intelligence, it can be mind, it can be body, it can be soul, depending upon the context. So here, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, it means that with intelligence. So Vishuddhatma, so how you can become Vishuddhatma? First, you have to become Vishuddhatma, then you will become, then you have to become, strive for Vijitatma, and then you become Jitendriya. So, and the processes for all these three, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendra, is triple S. Now, how does the Vishuddhatma, for Vishuddhatma, to become Vishuddhatma, you have to sharpen your intelligence. So how you can, sharpen your intelligence? You can sharpen your intelligence, especially in the scriptures, in the spiritual context, by reading the Shastras. So Vishuddhatma, for Vishuddhatma, the S is scriptures. You have to read them, listen to them, and sharpen your intelligence. To become Vijitatma, how to become Vijitatma? Vijitatma means control of on ourselves. Primarily, we have to control our mind. So how do we control our mind? Because until unless, there is an example which is given, if a doctor goes and he wants to inoculate or vaccinate the people who are in a situation which is prone to pandemic, doctor himself has to first take the vaccination, and he has to first, guard himself. Then only he can go and take the his duty, and he can do the duty and vaccinate others. So first and foremost thing, he has to control himself. He has to take the inoculation or vaccination. Here, the control on ourselves, primarily to control our mind. To do so, now, how do you control yourself? So control your mind. So to become Vijitatma, you have to take the next S, which is called sadhana. So practice of chanting of your Mahamantra in perfect manner, without any offenses, without any mistakes. So that you have to do. So then you'll become Vijitatma. So first is Vishuddhatma, by reading the scriptures, and that is Shastras. Vishuddhatma, to become by reading Shastras, you can sharpen your intelligence. Vijitatma is by doing your sadhana perfectly, you can control your mind. Now, the third one is Jitendriya. Now, controlling the senses, trying to restrain the senses, allow the senses to go loose. But if you allow the horses to go, it will run here and there. When you try to control your, you are from rise, on a chariot, and the horses are moving here and there, you are not able to, you'll not be able to reach to the destination where you want to go. So what you have to put, the reins. The reins are put on the horses, so that you can control them. So keep a perfect balance. To do so, the third S helps us. Now, what is the third S? Now, third S is seva. To do practical, down to earth, you have to do seva. You have to become each and every seva, what you do, you have to do it from the bottom of your heart, and with lovingly. You don't have to be a kind of, somebody telling you to do it, and then you take the seva. No, it has to come from within. So when a person is having this, when he becomes Vishuddhatma by reading the scriptures, Vijit Atma, by when he becomes Vijitatma by his very powerful sadhana, and then what happens, he becomes, when he wants to become Jitendriya, when to control over the senses, he has to do seva. So which is exactly what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, that he has to first and foremost thing accept. Jitendra means one who has full control over the senses. The senses are active part of the body, and their activities cannot be stopped. So how do you control your senses? So you have to engage them in the spiritual activity, so that they are not being taken away, they are not being dragged by the material desires. And in this way, you have to do the seva, so that you become Jitendriya. So Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendriya. These are the three things which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5.7. And this is what I heard and wanted to share it with you. Then there is here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about trying to engage the mind in the spiritual activities. So here the apt example which is given by Srila Prabhupada is, if a child is playing around with a knife, and it's a small child, you try a toddler, he's trying playing with a knife, and the mother sees it. Oh my God, this child is having knife and he might hurt himself. So what does the mother do? If she tries to take the knife from his hand, from the toddler's hand, he starts screaming because he was playing with it. So to divert his attention, what mother does, she takes a toy and keeps the toy in front of the child, and the child, he gets activated, or he gets dragged, or he gets diverted his focus on the new toy, and the mother can easily take up the knife from the child's hand. So similarly, like what we have to do, our mind is more focused, and our mind is more attracted to the material activities. So to do that, to divert that, we have to come up with the stories, come up with this, beautiful explanations which are given in the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in this way, when we start hearing that, and what we are doing now, we are doing the same thing. We have the day off. We could have been sleeping around at that time, or we must be moving around here and there. But no, what we are doing is we are trying to divert our and utilize this time which is with us in the proper manner. So this is what exactly Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. And let's go on the shloka number 24. Sava ayam sakhi anugita satkatho vedeshu guhyeshu chaguhya vadibhi ya eka isho jagat atma leelaya srajati avati ati na tatra sajjate. Translations and purpose by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Translation. Oh dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead, whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world and yet remains unaffected. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, all the Vedic literatures are glorifying the greatness of Lord Sri Krishna. Here it is confirmed in the Bhagavatam also. The Vedas are expanded by many branches and sub-branches by great devotees and empowered incarnations of the Lord like Vyasa, Narada, Sukadev Goswami and Kumarasa Kapila. Prahalada, Janaka, Bali and Yamaraj. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the confidential part of his activities are described by the confidential devotees Sukadev Goswami. In the Vedanta Sutra or the Upanishads, there is only a hint of the confidential parts of his pastimes. In such Vedic literature as the Upanishads, the Lord has expressively been distinguished from the mundane conception of his existence. His identity being fully spiritual, his form, name, quality, and paraphernalia, etc., has been elaborately distinguished from matter, and therefore he is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent persons as impersonal. But factually, he is the supreme person, Bhagwan, and he is practically represented as Paramatma or impersonal Brahman. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So from this we understand, and like we have to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is giving us so much information about Lord Sri Krishna. And we have talked about impersonal form of the Lord, which has been propagated by the Mayavadis. But here it is said that Bhagwan, he is the supreme person, Bhagwan, and he is partially represented by Paramatma or impersonal Brahman. So we go to the next shloka. Yada hi adharmena tamo dhiyo nirpa jivanti tatraisa hi sattva kila dhate bhagam satyam ritam dayam yaso bhavaya rupani dadhat yuge yuge. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power. The truth positive shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Purport. As mentioned above, the cosmic creation is the property of the Supreme Lord. This is the basic philosophy of Ishopanishad. Everything is the property of the Supreme Being. No one should encroach upon the property of the Supreme Lord. One should accept only what is kindly awarded by him. Therefore, the earth or any other planet or universe is the absolute property of the Lord. The living beings are certainly his parts and parcels or sons, and thus every one of them has a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute his prescribed work. No one therefore can encroach upon the right of another individual, man or animal, without being so sanctioned by the Lord. The king or the administrator is the representative of the Lord to look after the management of the Lord's will. He must therefore be recognized person like Maharaja Yudhishthira or Parikshit. Such kings have full responsibility and knowledge from authorities about the administration of the world. But at times, due to the influence of the ignorance mode of material nature, tamoguna, the lowest of the material modes, kings and administrators, come into power without knowledge and responsibility, and such foolish administrators live like animals for the sake of their own personal interest. The result is that the whole atmosphere becomes surcharged with anarchy and vicious elements. Nepotism, bribery, cheating, aggression, and therefore famine, epidemic war, and similar other disturbing features become prominent in human society. And the devotees of the Lord are the faithful or uh, persecuted by all means. All these symptoms indicate the time of an incarnation of the Lord to re-establish the principles of religion and to vanquish the maladministrators. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord then appears in his transcendental form without any tinge of material qualities. He descends just to keep the state of his creation in a normal condition. The normal condition is that Lord has provided each and every planet with all the needs of the native living beings. They can happily live and execute their predestined occupations to attain salvation at the end, following the rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The material world is created to satisfy the whims of the Nityabadha or everlasting conditioned souls, just as naughty boys are provided with playing cradle. Otherwise, there was no need of the material world. But when they become intoxicated with the power of material science or exploit the resources unlawfully without the sanction of the Lord, and that also only for sense gratification, there is necessity of the Lord's incarnation to chastise the rebellious and to protect the faithful. When he descends, he exhibits superhuman acts just to prove his supreme right, and materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa are sufficiently punished. He acts in a manner which no one can imitate. For example, the Lord, when he appeared as Rama, bridged the Indian Ocean. When he appeared as Krishna from his very childhood, he showed superhuman activities by killing Putana, Agasura, Sakatasura, Kaliya, etc. And then his material uncle Kamsa. When he was at Dwaraka, he married 16,108 queens, and all of them were blessed with a sufficient number of children. The sum total of his personal family members amounted to about 1 lakh, popularly known as Yaduvamsa. And again, during his lifetime, he managed to vanquish them all. He is famous as the Govardhana Dhari Hari because he lifted at the age of the only 7 the hill known as Govardhana. The Lord killed many undesirable kings in his time, and as a Kshatriya, he fought chivalrously. He is famous as Asamordhava, unparalleled. No one is equal or greater than him.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reading the purport. So from this purport, we understand when does the Lord takes avatar. So when does the Lord descends? So we have seen that, and it is the present scenario of the world. You see that all the people, what they are doing now, there's a bribery all around, nepotism is there, cheating, aggression. Then there's a war going between Russia and the country. Why? It's because everybody wants to lord over nature. But actually, what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport is that this all belongs to Lord Krishna. How can you say that this things belongs to me? But when this type of understanding is not there, then these issues happen. And the people, there are so many demons which have been mentioned here: Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa. They also tried to do that. They had superpowers. They were trying to do all. Were trying to take the advantage of the benedictions what they had. And the outcome, what was the outcome? Lord had to come and descend and kill them. In the Bhagavad Gita also, it's clearly mentioned. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyustama dharmasya tadatman. So, and also, like paritraya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushtam dharma samstharpanat. I come here to establish the dharma. Now, these all people are adharmis. Because of their adharma, Lord has to take birth, and he comes and he tries to fix and makes the things again into proper way. Now, to understand this, again, I will say that I was hearing to one of the lectures in which is from his spiritual world to the material world. So it is coming down from the spiritual world to the material world. And then tar means to bless the people and to make them sail through this ocean of birth and death. Now, Lord here, why does the Lord take avatar? We know that dharma samstarpanarthaya sambhavami, to take care of the saintly people and then to establish the dharma. So now here, exactly what is an avatar? How do you identify an avatar? So there was a lecture which was hearing the Prabhu, he explained very nicely that to identify an avatar from a charlatan, from a dongi, how do you understand that who is a real avatar and who is not? Who is the So he gave 6 important points to identify who is a charlatan and who is real avatar. So these are made into an acronym, and I'll just explain them what it is. So first, how do you identify? Now, these all 6 qualities should be there. Whenever suppose somebody claims to be an avatar, these all 6 qualities should be there in totality, because he is in a way that he is claiming to be an avatar. So if what are these 6 qualities or 6 points which have to be in that person? All the 6 points should be there. So these 6 points, the first one is prediction. So that means what does prediction means? That the scriptures, the authorized scriptures must have the prediction mentioned in the scriptures. Like now, for example, we are going to have Kalki avatar, which is yet to come. It's already there, mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So prediction has to be there in the revealed scriptures, and it has to be authorized, not the scriptures which have been written down by somebody in the material world. They are in the scriptures. This prediction has to be there. The second one is acceptance. Now, acceptance by whom? Not by any Tom, Dick, and Harry. The acceptance has to be from all the senior devotees and senior acharyas who are there in all the 4 sampradayas, not single sampradaya. All the 4 sampradayas, they will accept. Which are the 4 sampradayas? Brahma sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, and Rudra Sampradaya. So all the 4 sampradayas, they should accept that this avatar, he is an avatar. Until as the 4 sampradayas, they don't accept it. And at the same time, first, prediction should be there in the scriptures. Second thing, all the 4 sampradayas, they should accept this as an avatar. So that's the second requisite. Now, third one is the auspicious marks. Auspicious marks. What does auspicious marks means that the foot of the avatar, the person who's claiming to be an avatar, his foot should have the auspicious marks like fish, the marking of fish, or gada, or shankha, chakra, padma, star. All these kind of auspicious marks should be there. So again, this avatar should have all the 3. As I told you, it's the prediction should be there. Acceptance by all the 4 sampradayas should be there. Auspicious marks should be there. Then comes uncommon activities. This person or this guy who is claiming to be an avatar, he should be able to do uncommon activities. Like how? Like Sri Krishna, who took a Govardhan hill at the age of 7 for 7 days and 7 nights. So this kind of uncommon activities, he should be able to do it, including the first 3 requisites which we have mentioned. Then comes Virat Roop. He should be able to show you the Virat Roop. If he's able to show you the Virat Roop, then we have to accept, okay, as Virat Roop, as well as the earlier requisites what we mentioned. And finally, the most important and the one of the best which I was mentioned in the lecture was he should be able to pass the pathological test. Now, what does this pathological test means? So, if then the lecturer, he very nicely explained that if you see the context in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, shloka number 33, it's about Rishabh Dev. Rishabh Dev, he didn't want the people, the material people to disturb him during his in his meditation. So what he used to do, Rishabh Dev ji, he used to pass on the stool and urine, and he used to lie in the stool and urine so that the people thinking that he is filthy and he is dirty, nobody would come to him. But on the contrary, the Rishabh Dev's stool and urine would pass out such a aromatic fragrance that it would cover 80 miles of the distance. So if the person who's claiming to be an avatar, you should be able to pass this test as well. So this is an explanation which has been given to understand who is an avatar. So there are so many charlatans nowadays claiming to be an avatar, showing some magics and all that, and then people are carried away. But no, this is as per the scriptures. We have to identify there should be a prediction, there should be an acceptance by all the four sampradayas, there should be an auspicious marks. He should be able to do uncommon activities. He should be able to show you the Virat Roop, and finally he should be able to pass the pathological test. So this is what is mentioned for the avatars. Now let's go to the shloka number 26. Aho alam slagyatmana yadakulam aho alam punyatmana madhorvanam yad esha pumsam rishabha shriyapati swajanmana chankara chankra manena chanchati. Please read the translation.
Oh,
Krishna.
how supremely glorified in the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has
Has
taken
taken.
his birth and wandered in his childhood. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of the Godhead, Shri Krishna, has expressly given a description of his transcendental appearance, disappearance, and activities. The Lord appears in a particular family or place by his inconceivable potency. He does not take his birth as a conditioned soul quits his body and accepts another body. His birth is like the appearance and disappearance of the sun. The sun rises on the eastern horizon, and that thus does not mean that the eastern horizon is the parent of the sun. The sun is existent. The sun is existent in every part of the solar system, but he becomes visible as a schedule at a scheduled time, and as so also becomes invisible at another scheduled time. Similarly, the Lord appears in this universe like the sun, and again leaves our sight at another time. He exists at all times at every place, but by his causeless mercy, when he appears before us, we take it for granted that he has taken his birth. Anyone who can understand this truth in terms of the statements of the revealed scriptures certainly becomes liberated just after quitting the present body. Liberation is obtainable after many births and after great endeavor in patience and perseverance, in knowledge and remunication, but simply
Renunciation.
but simply by knowing the in but simply by knowing in truth about Lord's transcendental births and activities, one can get liberation at once. This is the verdict of Bhagavad Gita. But those who are in the darkness of ignorance conclude that our Lord's birth and activities in the material world are similar to those of the ordinary living beings. Such imperfect conclusions cannot give anyone liberation. His birth, therefore, in the family of King Yadu as the son of King Vasudeva, and his transfer into the family of Nand Maharaj in the land of Mathura are all transcendental arrangements made by the internal potency of the Lord. The fortunes of the Yadu dynasty and that of the inhabitants of the land of Mathura cannot be materially estimated. It simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the birth and activities of the Lord, one can get liberation easily. We can just imagine that that what is in store for those who actually enjoyed the company of the Lord in person, as a family member or as a neighbor. All those who were fortunate enough to associate with the Lord, the husband of the goddess of fortune, certainly obtained something more than what is known as liberation. Therefore, rightly the dynasty and the land are both even glorious by the grace of the Lord.
Jai. Wonderful explanation about Vrindavan, Mathura. So these places, as Srila Prabhupada mentions, that they are even having more potency even than in the spiritual world. In the planets of spiritual, like for if suppose somebody wants to go Swargalok and all that, these places are even more potent, because Lord He Himself was there. He has taken birth there. He has been doing so many pastimes there. So, and this is what exactly is mentioned in this shloka. And but simply by knowing in truth about Lord's transcendental birth and activities, one can get liberation at once. So if somebody is trying to go after the liberation, mukti, only by just by knowing that Lord's all these activities, birth and activities, are all glorious, they are transcendental for a person. But we are doubting soul. We are always a doubting soul, as they say, that how can this happen? Why this has happened? Why this can? We are not. We don't need to be like blind a person who is just taking it for granted. No, but then you have to understand if how this is possible, and how to get this knowledge is when you are in the midst, in the association of pure devotees, when you are reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita time to time, and sincerely. It's not reading the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, but by studying the granthas, by studying the scriptures. When you read the scriptures in detail, and then you try to understand, you study each and every statement which has been mentioned by Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, and that so many commentaries are being given. So if you hear that and you try to understand, if there are any doubts, you can put your doubts in front of the in front of those who are spiritually elevated. They will be able, then only you'll be able to understand the Lord's transcendental qualities and His activities. And this will help you to move ahead and become free from this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Chakkar. Okay, now the last shloka, which is 27th shloka. Aho Bhat Swara Yashyas Tiraskari Kushyas Thali Punya Yashakari Bhuva Pashyanti Nityam Yadanugraha Sitam Smithavalokam Swapatim Sma Yat Prajaha. Translation and his purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Okay, I'll read it.
Should I read? Yeah.
Okay, Mata, you read it.
No, Prabhuji, please you read. Please, we'll hear.
Hare Krishna. Undoubtedly, it is wonderful that Dwarka has defeated the glories of the heavenly planets and has enhanced the celebrity on the earth of the earth. The inhabitants of Dwarka are always seeing the soul of all living beings, Krishna, in his loving features. He glances at them and favors them with sweet smiles. Purport. The heavenly planets are inhabited by demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and Vayu, and the pious souls reach there after performance of many virtuous acts on earth. Modern scientists agree that the timing arrangements in higher planetary system is different from that of the earth. Thus, it is understood from the revealed scriptures that the duration of life there is 10,000 years. By our calculation, 6 months of earth is equal to 1 day on the heavenly planets. Facilities of enjoyment are also similarly enhanced, and the beauty of the inhabitants is legendary. Common men on the earth are very much fond of reaching the heavenly planets because they have heard that comforts of life are far greater than on the earth. They are now trying to reach the moon by spacecraft. Considering all this, the heavenly planets are more celebrated than the earth, but the celebrity of earth has defeated that of the heavenly planets because of Dwarka, where Lord Sri Krishna reigned as king. Three places, namely Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka, are more important than the famous planets within the universe. These places are perpetually sanctified because wherever the Lord descends on earth, he displays his transcendental activities, particularly in these three places. They are perpetually the holy lands of Lord, and the inhabitants still take advantage of the holy places, even though the Lord is now out of their sight. The Lord is the soul of all living beings, and he desires always to have all the living beings in their swarupa, in their constitutional position, to participate in transcendental life in his association. His attractive features and sweet smiles go deep into the heart of everyone. And once it is so done, the living being is admitted into the kingdom of God, from which no one returns. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The heavenly planets may be very famous for offering better facilities of material enjoyment. But as we learn from Bhagavad Gita 9.20-21, one has to come back to the earth planet as soon as the acquired virtue is finished. Dwarka is certainly more important than the heavenly planets, because whoever has been favored the smiling glance of Lord shall never come back to this rotten earth, which is certified by Lord himself as a place of misery. Not only this earth, but also all the planets of the universe are a place of misery, because in none of the planets within the universe is there eternal life, eternal bliss, and eternal knowledge. Any person engaged in the devotional service of the Lord is recommended to live in one of the above mentioned three places, namely Dwarka, Mathura, or Vrindavan, because devotional service in these places, three places, is magnified. Those who go there to follow the principles in terms of instructions imparted in the revealed scriptures surely achieve the same results as obtained during the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. His abode and he himself are identical, and a pure devotee under the guidance of another experienced devotee can obtain all the results even at present. What a wonderful concluding shloka is this. Very, very nice shloka where the glories of the places like Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka are mentioned, where the Lord says that these places are even more potent. They are with more of the spiritual bliss, what we can get at Satchit Anand. We can get all these qualities here if we are staying in this places like Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. Not only staying there, staying will help to some extent, but we have to follow the scriptures, follow the path of bhakti, as mentioned in the scriptures, as mentioned by our His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And not on only this earth, but all the planets, all the universe are places of misery. See what a profound statement has been mentioned in by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. He mentions that all the places in the planets, and none of the planets within the universe is there eternal life, eternal bliss, and eternal knowledge. It's only on the earth. So this place is Mathura, Vrindavan, and Dwarika. These places have to be, we have to stay there. And at the same time, like probably we are in Dubai now, we are in Damodar Desh, we are in some other places. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that wherever you have the association of pure devotees, wherever you are always chanting the names of the Lord, those people, those places, they become Vrindavan. So we can very well understand, always be in association of the devotees, always be listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there are so many scriptures. Hear about Krishna, try to imbibe the qualities of the acharyas, try to be follow the instructions which are being given by the acharyas, and this will help us to progress. And it is not one man show. You have to have, is basically it is A, B, C, and D. It is association, books, chanting, and diet. These you have to follow. And there is an additional on that also. A, B, C, D, E. E is Ekadashi. You have to follow the Ekadashi, which we followed yesterday. So follow all these instructions which have been given by Srila Prabhupada. Be in the association of devotees. Read Srila Prabhupada's books. Chant with sincere heart, and have prasadam, and follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada to fast on Ekadashis. Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Thank you so much, Prabhu, Subal Prabhu, for giving me this opportunity to go through all these shlokas. I was a bit kind of nervous earlier, but now it seems that everything is in order. I hope so. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, many, many thanks, Prabhu. I know it was at the very last moment that I reminded you but still you took the class. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thanks a lot. Anybody has any
I thought-
question? We have already run out of time, but in case one or two are there. No question?
No.
I'm sorry, I
Hare
extended the
Krishna.
time by 5 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, it is okay. I think
Hare
somebody.
Krishna,
thank
Prabhuji,
you.
just one small question. The class
Yes,
was
ma'am.
really very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. About the meditation, it was in one of the shloka came na, that when we meditate, you told a story about also. But
Yeah.
in the Ashtang Yoga, we do meditation also. So that is very different. That is materialistic, isn't it?
See, the things are the same. Then what I understand, when you the same knife, there is a knife which can help you to cut the vegetables and do something, cutting part of it, and the same knife which will help you to cut down somebody's throat. So same thing is there. You have to just modulate it and use it in the service of Krishna, and it becomes bhakti. So
Yeah.
this is what I can say in short way. Probably Subal Prabhu can highlight on this also.
नहीं प्रभु, आपने तो सब बता दिया. तो माता जी, बेसिकली मेडिटेशन में होता क्या है कि द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज नॉट टू रीच टू कृष्णा. द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू गेट आउट ऑफ द मटेरियल वर्ल्ड. बट व्हेन यू वांट टू रीच टू कृष्णा, योर ऑब्जेक्टिव इज achieving both the byproducts, the main product and the byproduct also. The main product is to go and be with Krishna and serve him. In addition to that, when you do that, you will get rid of the material world also. So people who are fed up of the material world and they take up this path of meditation, they will also achieve the spiritual planet. But trying to do direct service to Krishna and then achieving both the objectives is better than doing meditation alone. And that is what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. कि थर्ड चैप्टर, फोर्थ चैप्टर, फिफ्थ चैप्टर, सिक्स चैप्टर में योगा सिस्टम बताने के बाद कृष्णा देन टेल्स कि दिस टाइप ऑफ योगा is not as good as bhakti yoga. इसके लिए 6.47 he mentions that of all the yogis, the one who meditates on me is better than the dhyan yogi or karma yogi or jnana yogi.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
And if I was just reading the purpose, because I remembered that in one of in the same purpose which we covered today, there were so many purposes. In one of the purposes clearly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that senses can be controlled only by better engagement. Now, devotional service necessitates purifying the senses or engaging them into activities of devotional service. Devotional service is not in action. Anything done in the service of Lord becomes at once purified of its material nature. The material consumption is due to ignorance only. There is nothing beyond Vasudev. So we have to understand that. And when we do all the services, even the meditation, what we are doing, but when you are taking to bhakti, bhakti includes meditation.
Yeah.
You are doing when you are chanting, you are meditating upon the Lord's name. When you are chanting, you are also meditating upon Lord's form. You are closing your eyes and thinking about him. When you are doing the Archa Vigraha Seva, all your senses you are putting in the Lord's service. So this is basically what is bhakti. Includes everything which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, and other things you have to be doing it, but you will be taking a longer route to reach
Correct.
to bhakti.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, one question, if it is okay, if time
Yeah.
permits. Oh,
Yes, please,
very
Prabhu.
simple question. Nothing much. The start we spoke about Madhu and Kaitappa being Rakshasas, and they kind of get destroyed by the superpower, something like that. But apparently, even they also need the knowledge of Vedas. They also need everything. I think so, right? And they are also the children of Lord, or by that say. So, how is it that the Lord Himself can destroy those people, because they are the outcome of Lord itself, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm able to portray my question properly.
Put the question properly. Yes, Subal Prabhu, can you just reply that?
Prabhu, karo aap.
So here Madhusudana, when what we talk about Madhu and Kaitaba, these two demons. So it is that there is a saying that you don't have to what you call punish somebody because of his deeds. You have to correct him. So punishment is to correct them. So probably what I understand, Madhu and Ketaba, they had that thing in that, okay, we will use it. And what is demoniac quality? What is the demoniac quality? There is a saying that in one of the lectures I was hearing, whatever you see, you have to relate it to Krishna. That means you have to relate it to Bhagwan. But demons, whatever even if they see Krishna, they will relate to some material items. So that example is given of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, in whatever situation he was there, he was in the midst of snakes. He was in the midst of, he was thrown from a cliff, from a mountain, he was thrown off. But wherever he was, whatever the traumas he was put into, he always remembered Krishna. And he was correlating those traumas. For example, he was put in the pits which had poisonous snakes, but he was safe there. Why? Because when he saw the snakes, he was related, oh, these are the devotees of Lord. These are the followers of the Sheshnag. And so that means they are what you call the family of the one great devotee of Lord. So similarly, when he was thrown out from the cliff, Prahlad Maharaj, what was his action? Oh, I have been coming, and I'll be following on the falling on the Bhumi. Who is Bhumi? Bhumi has married Varadev. And who's Varadev? Varadev is Vishnu. So again, I'm going into the lap of my mother. So whenever you correlate anything, the devotees, the pure devotees, they will always relate it. Whatever situation they are, they always relate it to Krishna. Okay, this situation is because of Krishna. Whatever he wants is. But demons, in the opposite, when Hiranyakashipu, he saw Narsimha Dev. So what was he seeing? He's seeing the Lord. He's seeing the Lord himself. He's seeing the death in front of him. But at the same time, what kind of animal this is? So this is the perception. So if the Madhu and Ketapa, they had this potency, and they were demons because they were thinking of using this as in a destructive manner. And the first foremost thing, Lord was creating something, and this information was given to Brahmaji, and that creation is something very good. So that the demonic quality was what? To kill that thing which is happening good. There are people who have demonic quality. They will not do something good. They always try to spoil which somebody is trying to do good. So this is what I understand. That was the reason the Madhusudana means to kill the bad part of it. To revive the good things which the scriptures they had taken, to revive them and to kill their wrongdoings. This is what I understand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I hope I gave the correct answer.
Absolutely, very convincing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Subal Prabhu, you want to add something on that?
नहीं प्रभु हो गया वैसे. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Quite nicely answered, Prabhu. So Hare Krishna. Thank you all. See you next week. Uddhava Preshtha Prabhu, many thank you for conducting this wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Dandavas Prabhu. Dandavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandava Pranam.
Dandavas Prabhu.